Well,
of course I'm going to do that. But yeah, hello everybody.
Hi guys.
Well, for me, it's not been a while, but
it's been a while
since you. Yeah. And it's the first time it's just you and me, I think. Because otherwise, it's just the three of us or me and Rita. But Rita got really bad eczema, so she couldn't join, unfortunately. But we're gonna do this anyways, and we're gonna watch Rachel's train wreck of an interview with The View.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone was Rachel week, and we're talking about Evan Rachel Wood. So it was Rachel week, and she did a lot of appearances on different shows and everything to promote her new documentary called Phoenix Rising that came out earlier this week. So we wanted to watch the video, give our responses. I haven't seen it yet, so you're going to get a raw response from me, and I think Ella's already seen it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it once, and I just want to put this out there that she smiled at least 25 times. Yes, I counted.
Oh, my goodness. It's bizarre. It's like I've watched part 1 of Phoenix Rising. I haven't gotten to part 2 yet. And
I haven't watched either.
Yeah. Well, I did watch the first one, and I'm going to watch the second one. I have to sign up for HBO Max.
Yeah.
But literally, like every time in part 1 she would talk about Manson, like her face would glow. Like she would get this big smile on her face and she would glow. And it's like, that's not how a true victim would react. And so it struck me as odd. So if you're saying she smiled so many times in this interview, then that has a lot to say. Like that's a lot of body language to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, when one of the interviewers mentioned Manson's lawsuit and the defamation and forgery, she couldn't hide it. It was impossible.
No,
because she was like a 3-year-old on Christmas.
Well, I hope she enjoys her time now.
Yeah. Well, she still can before she goes to jail.
Yep. She's gonna have court coming with Manson.
Yeah.
It might be a year from now or however long the courts take, but her day's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. And with everything that she's done, she has at least 10. She and Ilma actually has at least 10 years in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I'd be worried if I were them, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so would I. And before we start this, I just had our reactions. I just want to say thank you, Ilma, for being stupid and admitting that everything in the lawsuit is legit because it's yours.
Yes, Ilma, we love you for that. No, we don't. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, she came out on Twitter and she posted something about the evidence that was in Manson's lawsuit was on her hard drives. Isn't that what she said? And that they were copyrighted material that belonged to her. So basically what she's doing is freely admitting out there to the world, hey, his evidence is legit and it belongs to me. So she just completely screwed and Evan.
Yeah. I still have the screenshot, so I can just put it in the video.
No, yeah, because she quickly deleted it too. It didn't take long for her to realize it. More than likely, her lawyer got on the line and he was like, "Hey, look, listen, what you doing?" In the meantime, all of us are like, "Yay!"
Yeah, I mean, I think she forgot about the thing called screenshots. People can do that, so it's never going to disappear.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot with Ashley too. Ashley Stiffline. She's done.
Yeah.
Notorious for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, without further ado, maybe let's watch the interview.
Okay.
It's gonna be interesting.
Actress and activist Evan Rachel Wood has testified before Congress about going through what she describes as hell on earth at the hands of controversial rock star Marilyn Manson. And her new documentary, Phoenix Rising, has even prompted a lawsuit from him. But she says she's telling her story for the many abuse victims who are not being heard. Take a look.
I became an activist fighting for victims and survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault.
Not only did people hear our stories, but they said, yeah, we hear you and something does need to change.
Any bills that will expand the statute of limitations is really important to survivors like us.
We need to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else.
I realized that this is the first time I haven't been doubted or questioned or shamed. This is the first time that someone was really listening. I was like, what is this feeling? And it's this feeling of being believed.
Please welcome Evan Rachel Wood. First of all, before we say anything, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, of course.
You first met Marilyn Manson, who's, by the way, his real name is Brian Warner.
Brian Hugh Warner.
Brian Hugh Warner, okay. In 2006, when you were just 18 and he was 37, okay. You say it started off as a friendship, but then you say that he started grooming you, which we often hear that term amongst abusers.
Yes.
From the abused, basically. So I'm curious, what drew you to him in the first place? And tell us how the grooming worked.
Well, in the first place, I was not drawn to him. He was drawn to me.
I see.
He approached me under the guise of work, false promises, and that is...
Okay, so here she says that she was groomed by him and that she was 18. All I have to say is that if you're over 18, you can't be groomed unless you have a mental disability and have the mentality of a child. But since she's been acting since she was a child, she had to grow up pretty fast and become a grown-up pretty fast, I'd say. So she was definitely not naive, and she was definitely not groomed by him. So, yeah, and also I just want to say right now that she was not a minor when she met him. She was 19, not 18. She was born in 1987, and they met in 2006 and started dating in 2007 when she was 20. So she was definitely not a minor, and she was definitely not groomed because she was of age. Okay? She was of age.
This is part of the grooming process. He was grooming me the second he said hello. Because grooming is when you present a false persona to somebody and you tell them lies to lure them into a false sense of security so that they become vulnerable around you. They start opening up, they start giving up their secrets and vulnerabilities. And so you're mining information. Yeah. You know, it's the epitome of a wolf in sheep's clothing. And once they have the information, once they know that you feel safe, they know that the manipulation can start. And so that's part of the grooming process.
They start using the information against you.
Exactly, and then later on the information comes back, yes.
Yeah. Now, when you were 19, you agreed to appear in his music video for his song, I think it's called Heart-Shaped Glasses. And you allege that he gave you a lot of drugs and alcohol. Again, you were only 19, and then had you do things in the video that you never agreed to, including having sex with him on film. You say that he essentially raped you on camera. His lawyer now says that's not true, saying it was only simulated sex and that you were fully coherent and engaged in the shoot from planning to editing even. Manson says he did not have sex with you on that set. Can you tell us how did this video shoot affect you, and how do you respond to both his denial and his lawyer's denial?
Well, we did not have sex on set. I was raped on set. It's a difference. And when you're inebriated like that, you can't consent, especially as a minor.
Right.
You know, I think it contradicts what he said in 2007. I think you should go back and read his interviews and see how he talked about the video then. And, you know, these people very often tell on themselves. I don't even really have to say anything.
What did he say then?
He said, oh, it does look real, doesn't it? Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Okay, so I touched on this a little bit before, just about a minute ago, she was not a minor when she met him, and she was not a minor when they filmed the music video, okay? They met when she was 19, okay? And they filmed this music video when she was 19 and going on 20. So there's that. She was not a minor. She was of age. And then there's this. She was in on this. Like, she was in on this whole idea from the start because she was helping him create the storyboard for this music video, okay? So how the fuck did she not agree to any of this? How the fuck was she not in on this when she was helping him with the idea and the storyboard for the music video? How the fuck was she not in on that idea? How was she not in on it? How did she not agree to it? I don't understand.
And Evan, you say that this video was just an early instance of the abuse that happened to you, but you said there was much more through the course of the relationship. What was that other abuse?
I mean, we would have to sit here for 6 hours for me to go through everything, honestly. But ultimately, yes, the acts of violence that he committed against me and a number of other victims, men and women, are absolutely horrific. But the most insidious thing that he did and that people like him do is they completely fracture your sense of self. He made me forget who I was. And it's taken me years to remember. And it's taken me years to get back to myself and to even understand what had happened to me, because I really thought I was the only one. And I didn't find out until much later that not only was I not the only one, but that there was a pattern to his abuse. And that means it's calculated. And that means he is not going to stop until he has stopped. This isn't just somebody shooting blindly in the dark. This is planned. You know, there's a system that you are put through, that we were all put through. So I think it's important to expose that.
You often hear from abuse victims, I thought I was the only one, and then they find out they were not. That's a very common refrain.
It is very common.
Well, we you know, the society around this issue is so geared around shame and blame and victim blaming, and that is by design. And you know, even in the way we speak about these things, you know, we're still asking victims the question why they didn't leave. And the fact that we're still asking that question tells me how much work there is to do. And nobody ever asked why the abuser didn't leave. You know, if he was so upset, if he hated you so much, you know, why are you hitting her? Why don't you just leave? You know, it's just because we're programmed. We're programmed to say these things, to ask these questions, but we need to start asking different questions.
All right, so I guess Ella's face disappeared for a moment. But I know, like, we just paused it, but we had to pause it again this quick, because did Rachel really just come out and say this was planned? I can't even put into words right now that how I feel about the fact she just admitted on TV this was planned. Even if she might have meant somehow else, she was being truthful there. She was being truthful. And I'm kind of glad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate to agree with her in a bit, in a way, but a part where she says that the society has to change the mindset about why the victim doesn't leave, but which is true.
Yes.
People have to change that mindset.
Right.
But the thing about the abuse, why doesn't the abuser leave? Like, it's because they want control. They want to make sure that they have you, like, wrapped around their finger.
Exactly. And in all honesty, if she was ever really in an abusive situation, she would already know that. She would know that it's all about power and control, and they feed off of your unhappiness. You know, it gives them a sense of self and sense of purpose, and it's live for what feeds them essentially. And
Yeah.
she should know this if Manson was truly abusive towards her, and for her to make that statement, she clearly doesn't.
No. She really doesn't. And it's just this is sick that she even said that, because it tells me that she has no idea what she's talking about.
Right. And then, I mean, also, I just want to point out that it shouldn't be like, why didn't the woman leave? It should really be, why didn't the victim leave? Because abuse has no gender, male, female, transgender. It doesn't matter. Abuse is across all platforms. So, I mean, that just really shows how extremely feminist she is.
Yeah.
That she's making it seem like abuse can't be with other genders. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about that clip.
Yeah. And also how much she has stammered so far because she's speaking so fast.
Oh yeah. He's just
It's like
keeps going like a roller coaster.
zero from 100, from 0 to 100, real quick.
Yeah, it's like a roller coaster. It's like woo, like it's crazy. Like she'll be talking normal and then spike and then go down and spike, and yeah. Like she's taking us on a ride.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is like 50 trains wrecking at the same time.
Oh yeah.
It's bad. It's just bad. Really bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said before, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
Let's just wait and see what she has to say.
All right, let's continue.
That's why rape remains the most underreported crime in the country.
It is severely underreported, even more so with men, because there's more shame around this issue in regards to men. And it doesn't just happen to women. It happens to men, women, and children, all ages, all genders, all colors, all sexualities. It does not discriminate.
But do you feel like there's been any progress, any change with the Me Too movement, all what we've seen in the last few years? I mean, is there any reason for hope?
Absolutely. And the Me Too movement did give me a lot of hope. And sexual assault has had its day. And we are speaking about things like grooming and gaslighting. And these words were not on our lips just a few years ago. And now I truly believe domestic violence has to have its day. Violence that begins in the home begets other violence. It's a cycle. And it bleeds into so many problems in our country and our society that we are not even aware of. We need to really, peel the curtain back on this and start examining it.
And Evan, I just first want to thank you for sharing your story. I watched the documentary last night. It is so gripping and powerful, and I really hope it changed hearts and minds. And I'm grateful to you for your legislative actions that you've done as well. I have to ask you, and I know this is probably hard to talk about, but your bravery is just so inspiring. The abuse and trauma you went through, you got to the point where you tried to commit suicide. How did you come back from that? And how did you come back ready to inspire others and to fight this battle and take it on?
When somebody aids in the destruction of yourself and you forget who you are, you feel pretty broken and pretty empty. And honestly, the suicide attempt is another form of escape.
Yeah.
When you don't feel like you're going to get out of this hole, there's no way to leave, there's nowhere to go, that is one way of leaving. And it did not work, and that was the turning point, because it made me think, well, I guess there's a reason why I'm here. And I'm at the bottom, so there's nowhere to go but up. And I always cite it as the worst thing that ever happened to me, because it was when the phoenix rose from the ashes. That was the beginning.
Yeah, so I wanted to stop here because, well, first, quick trigger warning, suicide. she's talking about suicide and that it was for her was the only escape and or another escape or another way out, however fuck she put it. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is when she said that she, at 22, admitted herself into a mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had apparently had mental problems.
Yeah. Yeah. But didn't she like that was because of Manson, like after the fact?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Everything is Manson's fault.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah, and also the stammer, it reminds me so much. It's not as bad, but it reminds me so much of Ashley's interview.
Of Ashley?
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen part 2 of Phoenix Rising yet. I've only seen a couple clips. But she says that she let her appendix burst on purpose.
Yeah.
Ashley does. Because she just wanted to die. She just wanted it to be her way out. And once again, that's like paralleling what Evan said. The whole, it goes back to the whole they wrote their statements together. They're trying to get the same kind of storyline out there. But about that, real quick, I mean, we might do a video on Phoenix Rising too. But about that, you can't control your appendix and when it's going to burst, if it bursts.
No.
I mean, come on, like that, like unless you're like a higher being, you have no control over your appendix, and you can't just be like, "Hey, appendix, burst today."
Burst.
Yeah, just no, you can't. Like
no.
And I don't mean to laugh so much, but it's insane.
I mean, we're not laughing because it's funny. We're laughing because they're crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that was like a horrific medical thing she went through. But for her to try to tie that to Manson and say that she purposely let it burst so she can get away from him, I mean, that's just crazy. That's crazy.
How do you even do that?
You don't. That's the thing. I mean, wow. I don't know. She said some off the wall stuff, and I know we're kind of getting off topic, but in all reality, it all ties together because they're all coming out with like the same kind of storylines. Everything was Manson's fault. They all want to say the same thing, so they're believed for their whole strength in numbers. I mean, it's
strength in numbers because you all keep together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just I don't know what to say. It's just wow.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, obviously, suicide very serious. It's a very serious thing. And I'm glad they put the suicide hotline number on the screen, because if anyone is feeling like that, they should definitely reach out for help. And a part of me does feel for Evan if she really truly was at some point in her life suicidal. However, I will come out and say this very sure of myself when I say that I do not believe that was Manson's fault or he had anything to do with it. I really don't. I feel like Evan is a troubled person. She has a lot of things going on, and I feel for her in that respect, but that's about where it lies. That's where it stops.
Yeah, same. And another thing I want to say, now that we're talking about mental health and more specifically suicide, she did at one point on Twitter post a picture of herself with these supposed scars, when I could tell that okay, sure, I'm not one to judge. I'll say that, but it didn't look like scars to me. It just looked like she took this photo for like artsy purposes.
Okay. Are you talking about the one where she's like lying down in bed with her arm wrapped around the pillow and,
Yeah.
self-cutting
Mm-hmm.
the scars? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that definitely was a staged photo. Now, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
whether or not she actually did those, but it definitely seems like it was something that she was glorifying instead of trying to be like, oh my gosh, like I need help.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, in a way, I feel bad for her, but it's not. I'm not gonna sit here and sympathize with her because she's lying about all this crap.
Oh, no, me neither. I mean, there's plenty of things she can do. Like she could go and seek intensive treatment for
Mm-hmm.
whatever she is going on mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm not going to give her a free pass to it either. Like this is serious stuff, like serious stuff that she
Yeah.
has done. I mean, coming out as, impersonating an FBI agent,
Mm-hmm.
just to try for two things, to get these women on board, to join in on this planned attack against Marilyn Manson,
Mm-hmm.
and two, to try to gain custody of her son in courts and take her son from Jamie Bell. That's messed up. That's really messed up.
Mm-hmm. It really is. I think I could land her in jail because forgery is illegal
Oh
for the
yeah.
most part.
Oh yeah. And I mean, she's messing with the feds. I mean, that's like the highest
Yeah.
level you can go.
Yeah, that is definitely illegal. That's
Oh
at
my
least like
God.
5 years in jail.
Right? It's not like she's pretending to be a local cop. No, they went straight to federal level
No,
there. That you don't mess with that. Like that's very
no,
dangerous,
no, no.
McGore. And I would say for the other accusers as well, at a lesser extent.
Mm. Oh yeah, for sure. And they were all in on this, so they're all going at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Let's continue with the interview.
All right.
So in 2016, you spoke out for the first time about being abused, and you became an activist for victims of sexual assault. Your work helped pass the Phoenix Act in California. Tell us about it and why it's so important.
Well, I mean, even since you guys have been on the show, I can't even imagine how many times you've had to talk about some kind of serial abuser and why nothing's being done and how they can get away with it for so long and how are there so many women. And a lot of times it's because you're limited by the statute of limitations. And the statute of limitations is the amount of time you have to report a crime.
Yeah.
And they do not reflect what we know about trauma and about intimidation, about, going up against somebody who's very powerful, who has many resources of retaliation to be able to come after you. Right. There's a million reasons why you wouldn't come forward. But very specifically, what trauma does to the brain and how long it takes to process. It takes, on average, 7 to 10 years to be able to process this kind of abuse.
Rachel, I want to know where you got the data from, your resources. Do you have any? How do you know it takes up to 10 years for the brain to process and understand the trauma and abuse that you've been through? How do you know that? How do you know all that? Because I'm pretty sure that it doesn't take you that long to understand, and I'm no professional whatsoever, but most people who are or have been in abusive relationships know from the get-go or after a couple of weeks that they're being abused because they understand that something is not right with what their partner is doing. So it doesn't take you years until you understand. It doesn't take you years to understand. I'm sorry that I got fucked up, my brain blacked out, but it doesn't take you years to understand what you've been through. You know from the get-go. But Rachel, since you're a professional on this topic, on this subject, please provide us some resources, some data. Please let us know where you got this shit from, because I'd love to see it. Okay, I'd love to see it soon. I'd love to see it soon.
Imagine, somebody says something that hurts your feelings, something bad. It sticks with you, for the rest of your life. Now imagine that 24/7 every day for 4 years. What that does to your brain and to your psyche and your self-esteem, and how long it would take to undo the psychological warfare that has been done, which a lot of victims will tell you is the worst part of the abuse. It's not the physical. It's what they do to your mind, body, and spirit that takes so long to overcome. And right now, when I was trying to get justice in California, the amount of time I had to report was 1 to 3 years. And, those first few years, you're doing what everybody tells you to do, which is try to move on and forget it ever happened. Right. You're running. You are running. And then it catches up with you and you realize, I can't run from this anymore. And then you have to start rebuilding yourself. And then, if you're lucky, you rebuild yourself. And then maybe you can think about pursuing justice, And so we need more time.
Sometimes it's too late.
Okay, so I just want to talk about her wanting to pursue justice real quick. Because we all know that she became an advocate, an activist for domestic abuse and domestic violence. For victims of domestic abuse and domestic violence. When she started the Phoenix Act back in 2016, I think. And I just want to say that if it's that important to her, if it is so important to her, why did she let the Phoenix Act website expire? Why did she let the Phoenix Act website expire if it's so important to her? Because clearly it isn't. Because if it would have been important to her, she wouldn't have let the website expire. Okay? She wouldn't have let that happen. And I've said this in a few other videos before, but I genuinely think that the Phoenix Act would have actually been a good idea and a good thing, because I know that there are a lot of men, women, trans or cis, non-binary people, and children that would have needed it because they're abused or have been abused. But the thing is that Evan and her friends, they're all fucking lying. They're all lying. So if it wouldn't have been for them actually fucking lying about being abused by Manson, the Phoenix Act would have been a good thing. And once again, if she really cares about this topic so fucking much, she wouldn't have let the damn website expire. I'm just saying.
The majority of the time it's too late, and abusers know this. And they know there's a statute of limitations, and they know all they got to do is scare you long enough until that statute of limitations runs out. In fact, Brian did an interview in 2012 where he specifically cited the statute of limitations.
So did your work change the statute of limitations?
It did. So the Phoenix Act is a bill that gives survivors more time to report. It's very, very important. And this is how we're going to stop serial abusers. We know we had other provisions in the bill that were cut out on the floor, like if 3 or more women are coming forward about the same person, it could extend the statute of limitations. If your evidence hasn't deteriorated, it should expand the statute of limitations. If coercive control is involved, if you're too afraid to come forward, there should be exceptions, and there just aren't right now.
Okay, so I had to pause a little again, because she says that the abuser knows about the statute of limitations, and therefore their tactic is basically just to intimidate you and scare you long enough not to come forward. Well, Rachel, the thing is that abusers don't know. And I'm quite sure that they don't even think that you're gonna call the cops on them or walk out on them. They don't expect that shit to happen. They don't expect that to happen. So they don't know about the statute of limitations, and they don't even fucking think about it, okay? And once I touched on this not even a minute ago, but if you wouldn't have been such a filthy liar, the Phoenix Act would have been a great idea. And it would have also been a great idea if you actually gave a single shit about it, Rachel. Because once again, you'll let the website expire. I'm just going to leave it at that.
And so we got to strengthen these laws and educate people about it.
I want to ask you one question because I think it's important. When someone begins to isolate you from your family, is that something a family member should keep really close attention to? Because one of the things that you talk about is being isolated from your folks. So is this important for people who are outside to keep an eye on?
Yeah, absolutely. And my family knew that something terrible was happening, and they knew that I had disappeared. And even on the rare occasion I was allowed to see them, it's still controlled.
Right.
You know, it's still, you know, under his eye, so to speak. And so, and domestic violence doesn't just affect the victim, it affects the whole family, because they have to watch the person that they love go through this, and it's very hard to know what the right thing to do is. And the best advice I could give is to not shame them. Don't come at them panicked. Don't say, you have to do this, you got to do that. Just be that lifeline. Let them know that there is a hand there ready to grab their hand when they're ready, because they will tell you when it's safe. They will tell you when it's time. I can't tell you how much it helped just to know that there were people. I mean, I had friends that used to circle the neighborhood I lived in just waiting for me to call, you know, and like that means so much. And when I was ready, I called, you know.
Okay, so a few things. She was not isolated. Okay, Madison let her see her parents whenever the fuck she wanted to. And, Madison and Evan's father got along pretty well. There's a picture of Madison and Evan and her parents going to Disneyland. I can't find it right now, but it's out there, okay? So that doesn't sound like isolation at all to me. And the thing about that she had friends just circling around the neighborhood just waiting for her to call, that sounds so fucking weird. Are they just walking around the neighborhood that you and Manson lived in at the time, just eagerly waiting for you to give a call? What the fuck? What the fuck, Evan? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Again, thank you for coming.
Yes, of course.
We'll talk more with Evan Rachel Wood when we come back.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
And let me ask you this, because he filed a lawsuit against you where he claims you and another activist made knowingly false statements to police, prospective accusers, that you listed specific acts of abuse that prospective accusers might claim against Warner. You say his name is Brian Warner, and forged a document purporting to be from an FBI agent. He also responded to the documentary saying, quote, nothing that Evan Rachel Wood, Ilma Gore, or their hand-picked co-conspirators have said on this matter can be trusted. This is just more of the same from a group who have spread falsehood after falsehood, end quote. Can you respond to that? I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that.
Sure. Well, I can't, you know, obviously speak about any of the specific allegations of the lawsuit, but I am not scared. I am sad, because this is how it works. This is what pretty much every survivor that it tries to expose someone in a position of power goes through. And this is part of the retaliation that keeps survivors quiet. This is why people don't want to come forward, because this was expected. I'm very confident that I had the truth on my side, and that the truth will come out, and that this is clearly timed before the documentary, and for this is the reason. So yes, again, I'm not doing this to clear my name. I'm doing this to protect people. I'm doing this to sound the alarm that there is a dangerous person out there, and I don't want anybody getting near him, and so people can think whatever they want about me. I have to let the legal process run its course, and I'm steady as a rock. So
good for you.
Okay, so what did you want to say about this part?
Well, I'm going to go in reverse order just because the very last thing she said kind of struck me. She's like, I'm steady as a rock. It's like, if you were steady as a rock, you wouldn't need to say that out loud. You wouldn't need to try to convince yourself and the audience and the general public that you're not worried about this. Like, just her saying that, I was like, oh, okay. And the way she said it too, it's like, yeah, no, you're not. No, you are not.
No. And
gosh.
Also the part where she said, this was expected. Well, why'd you do it if you expected this to happen?
Right. Well, that's because she's trying to turn the whole situation around, because she didn't like the fact that she was exposed. So the best way to try to turn it around is to once again put it on Manson's shoulders so he carries the weight. Like there, she's trying to make it out like he did something wrong because he was retaliating against her. Like, no, he did exactly what he should have done. He has every right to defend himself. Every right. And, this is literally just her way of trying to spin this whole narrative to get the negative light off of her and place it right back on Brian Warner.
Oh, yeah. But also, the endless smiles.
Oh, that's disturbing. It really is. And Ashley Smith.
She also laughed in our faces for a second time.
What?
I just said that she also laughed in our faces for like a second time.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, Ashley Smith line did the same kind of thing. In her interviews, it was the same kind of mannerisms as Evan in this one. It's
yeah,
because they're not being honest.
No, they're definitely not. And also in this, I think in the first few seconds of this part, Evan not only smiled, but she also she smirked and she did a lip compression at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looked like she had a slight pout, like a pouty lip, and then a grin, and then a lip compression. And that's like having like 3 different emotions going on all at the same time. It's like her body's in overdrive, her brain's in overdrive. She doesn't know how to react and respond. It's like they definitely hit a button when they asked about the lawsuit Manson filed against her and Ilma Gore. And it's clear. It is so clear by the way she's responding. It's literally like if you have a robot that's in overdrive and, there's a button there to shut that robot down because it starts going crazy. Yeah. That right there was Rachel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm gonna be honest and say that the first time I watched this and I saw her reaction, I was like, oh my God. That is bad. That is bad.
It is. It's just so overly dramatic, but I really think that's the mental state she's in. I really do. Yeah. Because she's trying so hard to convince the world of a narrative that is false, and her body is completely rejecting that narrative.
Yeah, just like with Esme, I think we're gonna react maybe to her interview in the future, but in the interview she did with Good Morning America when she had first released her statement.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Notice how much she's blinking. Like when she says that she was abused and she was feared for her life every single moment she was with him, and he was this and he was that.
Yeah.
That means that her eyes are dry because she's lying.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and we're not going to say we're like body language experts, but at the same time, we've
No.
researched this, and I mean, it's also just, you know, it's instilled in everybody. Everybody has body language. Everyone learns how to pick up on body language from a very young age. Like when you're a kid, if you do something wrong and you see your parent give you a look, you know, like, you know what that means. You know, you know.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, yeah, so like I just want to say we're not experts, but you don't need to
No.
see these glaring signs right in your face. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, all I had to do was look up like 2 or 3 articles on signs of someone's lying.
Yeah, I
They
watched
were all written by professionals in some way.
yeah. Yeah, like I watched several videos on YouTube, and the one person, he was an FBI, like he worked for the FBI. And so, I mean, clearly he would know what he's talking about, you know, because they look for these things with criminals and criminal activity, and they're
Yeah.
going to look for it
With
whenever,
all these women.
yes, whenever they have their days in court. They're going to
Yeah.
be looked at for how they respond to
Yeah.
things. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Ashley Morgan is going to be the worst.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I really would.
Because we all know she's a wreck. She's a nut job. And she's
Yeah.
a really bad liar. So she's gonna piss herself.
I mean, in all honesty, if her case goes to court, she's going to completely forget her story and come up with like a third scenario for everything she's already been called out on. Like, you know,
or 57.
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's no way she can keep it straight at this point because she's
No.
made so many glaring lies and there's been so many huge inconsistencies. There's no way that she's going to be able to keep that straight, especially under stressful circumstances, as in being in a courtroom with a judge and with Manson present and knowing what could potentially happen, what could be the outcome of this. Yeah.
So yeah, she's definitely gonna piss herself, and she's gonna like the pathological liar she is. She's gonna make up new stories because she can't keep her story straight. And neither can Evan or the other Ashley, apparently.
Yeah.
They're pathological liars, and making up stories that clashes with the other one is very typical and common for liars.
Oh yeah. And poor J. L. Wagner, what's his name? L. Wagner. They're the attorney for what is it, Esme and Ashley? Oh man, that poor guy.
And Chloe Black, I think. Chloe Black as well.
Oh, okay. He's gonna go through it in court, especially with Ashley, because she's gonna freeze, and he's gonna have to try to cover for. Like he's gonna have to, like, you know, he's gonna wish he had a completely different profession, because there's probably no amount of money in the world that could pay him for that. Like, he's gonna go through it.
No. I mean, he's probably gonna sit there with the same expression like he did during the View.
I know, like, no.
Get me out of here.
Yes. Oh man, that poor guy.
In a way, I feel bad for him, but I also don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know he's just doing his job, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel bad for him. I really do. I wouldn't want to be her attorney. I wouldn't. I'd quit my job. I'd quit my whole profession.
Yeah,
No,
same.
I'd be like, yeah, that's it. Early retirement. I'm done.
I mean, he's gonna have to live with that for the rest of his life. Like, he worked with some people who lied under oath.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna have a very good reputation in his profession.
Right. I mean, he might have to retire after this anyway. I mean,
yeah,
that doesn't help his credibility at all.
No.
Like
And
Amy
for
Heard.
that reason, I also feel sorry for him.
Yeah. And that's like Amy Berg, her credibility is destroyed now too. And it will be known to the public the longer this goes on. And that's going to affect her. And she's going to continuously lose her credibility until she has none left.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, she was the one who confirmed that Evan decided to deliberately wait until months after Manson's latest album to drop his name.
Yeah. Which conveniently was around the time that Manson married Lindsay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
an just a couple months after, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that he released that album.
Yeah, it wasn't long after at all. Or before. Maybe it was before. I don't know exactly, but it was right around the same time.
Yeah. So that's just, this whole thing is just sick, and like I said before, I hope she goes. I hope she goes down.
Me too. Me too, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you, I mean, the 10 years later, you're still experiencing trauma, but I want to know, how are you coping with it? How are you dealing with it?
You know, there's good days and bad days, and I don't want to sugarcoat things for survivors or act like, yeah, and, you know, I'm super, you know, one of my favorite quotes is, the trauma didn't make me stronger, but it sure made me funnier. Because you learn to have you have to have a sense of humor, otherwise you cry forever. If it's, I mean, I was watching Beetlejuice the other day. I love Beetlejuice. And then the second Gina Davis meets him, the joke is that he keeps groping her against her will, and she literally just goes, just bats him away and laughs it off, and they just keep going. I'm like, that right there is way more damaging than seeing a rape scene, because the rape scene, at least you see the pain. Like, I've been raped, and I can laugh at a rape joke if it's a good joke. Yeah. It's gotta be 100%. A good joke, and it's gotta be in the right context, otherwise it's just bad. And so, you know, you find the silver linings, you find your people that know you and love you and that are there for you unconditionally, and that is invaluable. And therapy, you know, you got, I mean, but again, like I have a platform. I'm privileged. I'm white. I have resources, you know, and like I can't even imagine how alone people must feel that go through this, that do not have privilege, that do not have a platform, that do not have money, and they're alone. They're so alone, and so or they feel like they are. And so I would just say that you are not alone. You're not the only one going through this, and we should all be alarmed that, you know, as I said, I have these things in my corner and I'm still struggling. And that should alarm everyone. Because if this happens to you or somebody that you love, guess what? You're going through the same system I am. Yeah. And we should all be alarmed. And we should all be learning more about it and seeing what we can do to change it. So.
Man.
So there you have it. Again, thank you for coming. Can't say it enough. The two-part HBO documentary film Phoenix Rising debuts March 15th and 16th on HBO and HBO Max. Watch it.
Okay, so what do you want to say about these last few minutes?
Well, first of all, don't mind my cat. This is incest. She wanted to join in, I guess.
Hi.
I mean, hello. I mean, in a way, like, yeah, she's right. She does have a platform, and she does have, you know, she's an actress, you know, she has people who are listening, and she's right that there are many people who don't have that opportunity. But I honestly don't believe she cares about that. I think when she says, I have a platform and I'm privileged, she says that with pride and not in a sorrowful way, like she feels bad for other victims. Like, because I don't believe she does at all. I really don't. So
no,
that's the one thing that stuck out to me that I wanted to say about this.
Yeah, and also the thing about privilege, and the thing that she said she's white. Like, oh, I am so proud. Like, if you know you have privilege, why the fuck did you say that Kobe Bryant was rapist for no reason?
Exactly, and right after he passed away too. like immediately after.
Yeah, the same fucking day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like she doesn't have shame. You know, she's proud of herself and she wants to put herself on a pedestal, and no one can be up there with her.
Yeah.
Everyone has to knock down everyone. And that goes for like her relationships, like people she's been with, just people she's met. I mean, the Met Gala, she had to knock the Met Gala down and complain about them before. Sorry, there's a motorcycle outside.
It's okay, don't worry.
Yeah, it's just she seems to me like she's the kind of person that she needs to be the center of attention, and the spotlight has to be on her, and everyone else is beneath her, and that's very narcissistic. Very narcissistic.
Yeah. Yeah, she is a narcissist.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I'm gonna say that I know that I have that I'm privileged, and I'm not exactly proud of it in many ways. Because I know that there are people out there that aren't as lucky as I am. That they're, and you know, people that aren't white, like people of color, they don't get treated like white people do, and I know my privilege because of that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I do sympathize with that, and I can't agree that you know, because I'm white, I guess that makes me have privilege, but I'm not going to say that ever with pride. Ever.
No.
I mean, I definitely feel for the discrimination that others face that should never happen in the first place. It shouldn't
so
even
do I. So,
if ever.
yeah. So for Evan to say that, oh, I'm so privileged, it's no. If you're gonna say that you're privileged, I think you also have to know and not speak it with pride.
Right, exactly. Like, I mean, yeah, you can be glad that, you know, you were dealt a lucky hand there in life, but at the same time, don't be proud, because then you're having pride at someone else's expense. You know,
Yeah.
and that's just horrible, and that's not a good look for her.
No. And especially because, like we said before, she called Kobe Bryant a rapist the same day that he and his daughter died.
Right, which was completely disrespectful to Kobe's family. You know, and it wasn't just Kobe that passed, it was his daughter too, and then there were other people on that plane. Honestly, that's probably one of the most, aside from this Manson hoax, that's probably one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard her say or do. Aside from the
And she
Manson
didn't
hoax.
even apologize when Vanessa called her out.
No, it's like she didn't even care, and it's like, how can you not care? Like how can you not empathize with this family? Like, I don't know. It's sick. Like, I can't even begin to try to put myself in Evan's headspace, because that's too scary of a thought.
Yeah. Really is. But yeah, let's just say that if you know you're privileged, don't say like you're proud of it.
Exactly. I mean, like, she had I will say she had the right point to put across, but it didn't come across the way she meant it to. Like,
Yeah,
it came
what did she say? What you're talking about?
Like about how basically saying that because of her platform and because of her being white and everything, that she's privileged, whereas meaning like that she's being heard, that that she has a voice, that she's able to get out there and speak her mind and get things done, whereas you know, say someone who's of a minority or someone who's not a celebrity, it's not gonna come easy. Like, if there's any justice at all, like, they're gonna struggle way more than someone in Evan's situation would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Evan got this whole Manson lawsuit to deal with, and it's not going to be a walk in the park like she thinks it is.
No. It's not going to be a bed of roses.
Nope. Hell no.
So yeah, in conclusion, this was a train wreck, and she is absolutely disgusting. disgusting, and I hope she gets her time in jail. If not all 10 years, maybe like 2 or 3. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, like there needs to be some kind of justice served.
Yeah. If even a year and a half, because that way I think she'll learn what she's doing is wrong beyond
Right.
words.
Right, because it's almost like she thinks she's invincible and nothing can touch her. Like, and even in this interview, the way she
Yeah.
talked about Manson's lawsuit, you know, she definitely thinks she's invincible. And, you
Yeah.
know, it's going to be really hard. It's really good. Sorry. It's going to be really hard when it comes to the realization that guess what? She's not as invincible as she thinks. And this is all gonna catch up to her. And it's going to be a very, very hard realization for her when that happens.
Yeah. Like I said, karma is gonna bite her in the toe really hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And
So,
same with Vilma and Ashley and Smith.
oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just the lack of eye contact is also a big tell that someone's lying because they can't look you straight in the eye.
Yeah, she was talking
Because
with her.
either they look, yeah, or she's looking around like this, but there's almost no eye contact. So that's also a big tell that he's lying.
Yeah, and then the grandiose hand movements and the gestures, like that. There was a lot of that too. Crazy hand.
And the thing she did with her neck and her chin, all the like once or twice.
Like
Because
she's
she
like,
doesn't know what to do with her hands.
yeah.
Because she's nervous because she's lying.
Yeah.
Just gonna put that out. She's nervous because she's lying. Not because she's telling her story.
Yeah.
But was there anything else you wanted to add?
I just want to say that the very end of it, like, you know, that's just shameless promotion for a hit job documentary. And that's literally what this whole Rachel week was about, was let's get people to watch this documentary as possible. So eventually the whole world believes that Marilyn Manson is a monster and I am a perfect little princess. Well, no. You know, I really hope that more people are starting to opening their eyes to what's really going on here, to the fact that Marilyn Manson is innocent and actually takes the chance and the time to, you know, read his lawsuit, read everything he had to say, look at the evidence. Like, you know, I just really, that's what I want. I want people to start researching this and then coming to our side and seeing what we've been saying this whole time and what Manson in his lawsuit. Like, that's really important. Before we get any negative comments or anything, just please do that first. Because there's
there are lots of Instagram accounts you can check out.
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely, you know, Stand By Your Manson is probably the best, in my opinion, the biggest and best source. And then Marilyn Manson Uncanceled. That's a very good source. You know,
Narcissus Evan too.
Yeah, Narcissus Evan. You know, we have an account. We had several accounts, but they've gotten banned from Instagram. Lovely. But started a new one. Yeah, we do believe Ashley had to shut down. Well, we're not giving up. Our new account called Truth for Manson, the number 4. So you can look that up on Instagram. You know, give us a little bit of time to get that up and running because, you know, this is like the second time we've been kicked. So we're trying to recover, but yeah, we'll have information up there. And then there's other courses as well.
We have Twitter and Facebook.
We did start Twitter and Facebook. I mean, yeah, we can put the links down there. But yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, we'd appreciate it if you would like the video, follow, leave your comments. Find us on Instagram. You can look us up on Facebook and also on Twitter. So we just started those accounts. And we'll be coming out with more content, you know, soon. we'd like to do more
Yeah.
more like the Rachel week videos. So,
Yeah.
once Rita's feeling better and things like that, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.